I go off
You're
on a
totally
tangent
fine.
now. I forget what you're. Okay.
No, you're totally good because I mean, you're absolutely right though. I mean, basically what I asked was like, how did you get from one end of the perspective to another?
Oh yeah.
And like that's just I mean, to me, you kind of hit it dead on because I think personally, and this is just my personal reflection on like issues that the American church has today is that there isn't this deep enough dive into the historical, archaeological, intellectual, apologetic side of our faith. And I think it's real emotionally driven. I think it's very self-esteem driven. And I mean, I've said it before, and I don't want to be too harsh when I say it and everything, but it just seems like it caters to a little too much to our ego in some retrospect, and there's to me a greater adventure to be had in diving into the historical and theological side of things. And I can tell that that's something that's going on in your art too, because you post facts about it and everything in the captions. You don't leave your art just out there for
Mhm.
just people to look at. And I think honestly, in my opinion, that's probably what gets most people not only to notice your artwork, but to follow along with it because you're teaching them something. What's your process in that?
Yeah, that's great to hear. And I hope that's the case because while I did start out just really wanting to reignite my interest in illustration, there is that deeper core of it that's really the thing motivating this to begin with, and that is my love for the faith and the love for Christ and the church. And so, yes, sometimes these things just kind of hit me outside of myself. I'll get this hint of inspiration from something, and or I'll look at something differently, or I'll come across something I read, and I'm like, huh, I want to, pull it, and I have a tendency to go down some rabbit trails, just chasing his little historical anecdotes throughout the
Mm.
period, throughout the 2,000 years of church history. And when I do, and when something comes across as really interesting, or it adds some new layer or context to Scripture, um, that stuff just blows me away sometimes. Especially, I write about typology a lot because typology is not something I ever heard growing up,
Mm.
and it is something that is. And so yeah, a lot of the posts I'll try and draw these from Old Testament and the foreshadowing of the New Testament
Mm.
in various ways. There's of course the prophecies about Christ and things like that. I think all Christians know that, but there's deeper layers to some of the things. One of the things is this is what turned me off from the Bible at an early age is we pick up a Bible, we determine what our favorite translation is going to be, and that Bible's been translated multiple times over history.
Hmm.
We are now 2,000 years outside of the culture, the environment, the time period, all of that, the language, and we presuppose that we can pick this up and just understand it.
Mm.
Some of it you can, some of it's very spiritual, some of it's encouragement and motivation, but there's a lot of it that's much deeper than that. And so that's why when I dig back into the church fathers, it gives you a perspective from the time of the apostles and just after and the centuries following it and the things that they passed on. It's like, what did they understand this to be? When they read this, what were they interpreting this as? What did the
Yeah.
apostles tell them this meant? And so when I find stuff like that, it just yeah, it just lights a fire in me. I'm like, I gotta
Hmm. That's cool. Um, did
10,
you
10 years
ever?
or so ago, like, yeah, it just blew me away. Mm.
That's awesome.